What's like the durian? Which are really
You should never ever eat durian. If you encounter ripe durian, send it to me. Don't eat it. Send it here. Go ahead and pay the extra shipping costs. Get it away from you as fast as possible. Okay?
because it's supposed to taste very nice, but it smells awful.
Well, it smells awful to some people. Some of us don't mind the smell at all. When I travel, I eat whatever's local, as much as I can, with the exception of durian. Right? I'll be buying durian as soon as I get to California, because it's hard to get here most of the time.
What is durian?
It's the national fruit of Thailand. You find it throughout Southeast Asia. It's amazing. Some people call it stinky fruit. They're 7 to 10 pounds on average. It's a big, hard shell. You can't eat the outside. It's woody. When we were still in the U.S., that place up there, every month we had a durian feast around a campfire. And I would buy, depending on how many, there would always be at least 6 of us. No, more like 7 or 8 of us. And sometimes there'd be 10 or 12. I'd invite some friends. So I'd have, maybe 5, 6 cases, like 2, 3 fruits in a case of durians. And I'd open them all and pass them around. And I'd probably cut myself 4 or 5 times that night, because they have very sharp points on them. They're heavily armored fruit. Why, by the way? Why are they heavily armored? Why? What's the fruit? Doesn't the fruit want you to eat it? Fruits want to get eaten. The point of fruit is for the fruiting plant to distribute seeds. But the fruiting plant wants to be sure that you don't eat it until it's ripe. Why? Because until the fruit's ripe, those seeds aren't viable. So distributing those seeds early isn't going to help the plant. The plant wants to be sure the fruit doesn't get eaten until the seeds are viable. So durian's heavily armored, right? It's got these very sharp spikes. It'll hurt you. When you can't put it in a plastic bag to carry it out of the shop. It'll tear the bag up, right? You have to wrap it in newspaper first and put it in a bag, or put it in a box or something, a paper bag, and then be careful. You don't want to hold it to yourself and poke right through the bag. It's pretty sharp. It's amazing when the fruit ripens in nature. When it ripens, it opens up. There are 5 sections with fruit in them. There are 5 seams, and when it's ripe, it just opens up by itself. So any animal can come along and just take the fruit right out. The spikes aren't a problem. But until that's ripe, you're not getting in there. Years ago, for about 5 years, I ran a raw vegan potluck. We finished about 20 years ago, 22 years ago, from 27 to 22 years ago, at my house in Bethesda. Every month we'd have a meeting. I would usually give a talk. There'd be 20 to 40 people. And one day this guy shows up. He called himself the Durian Prince, and he brings a durian and this giant knife to get into it. I said, "Hey Prince, can I show you how to open that without a knife?" Because if it's ripe enough, if it ripened properly, you don't need a knife. Even if it's not open, there's 5 seams, and if you know how to locate them, just punch your thumb through there, and then it zips open. Just opens right up. It comes from Southeast Asia only. They're very finicky trees. They're difficult to grow. So we've probably planted 20 of them, and I think we might still have 2 or 3. And in May we'll plant more. I mean, we're gonna plant thousands of durian trees until we have thousands of durian trees. And we may have to keep trying to get them to take, because they require very specific conditions. They're finicky. We'll just keep on trying. As the big project grows, right, most of that land I said is going to be nature preserve. I forgot to mention that we're going to withhold one section of land near the river, somewhere downstream a bit, that we're going to plant in fruit trees, because many of the things we plant here will grow here. We grow mangoes and papayas, and theoretically we could grow durians, some other things, but all those fruits are actually happier at sea level, where it's hotter and more humid than it is here. And so as we go down the river's going downhill, right? Rivers always go downhill. So as we go further down the river, we've got land that's lower and hotter and close to the river, more humid. We're going to plant trees there. We're going to find, take a piece that's currently pasture. We're going to leave the forest. We're not going to cut the forest down to plant fruit trees. We got enough pasture to plant all the trees we need. But we're going to take one section of pasture down the river somewhere, and we're going to plant all these trees that maybe will do better there than they do here. Yeah, it's illegal to bring durian to most hotel rooms because it has a pretty strong scent. The perfume of durian smells a little bit like, durian has a high sulfur content. Say again? Eggs, well, or there's a chemical they add into natural gas has no smell. But because it can kill you, they add something to it to give it a smell, so you can smell it. And it smells a bit like that. And years ago, I was speaking at a raw vegan event, a big event. It was called the Portland International Raw and Living Food Festival. It happened like 4 or 5 years ago in Portland, Oregon. And I spoke there a few years. And the first year I was there was a durian vendor, and they had a little ground. They had like some picnic tables, and you weren't supposed to take the durians outside of there because they wanted to try to keep that smell retained, in one area, contained. But as a speaker, they gave me a booth, and I had to go man my booth. So I'd buy durian and go back to my booth and eat it. And everyone was doing the same thing. So around this, the festival grounds, it was like a church campsite that we had rented. This place had rented for a week. And around the grounds were these big 50-gallon metal barrels, trash barrels. And so everyone was taking their durian carcasses and tossing them in these bins. And one day a woman walks into the festival office and says, "I think there's a gas leak on the property." And the guy who told me the story, he was the one talking to her, told me later, he said, I'm pretty sure I knew what was going on. So I said, "Why don't you show me where this is?" So she walked around every time they got close to a trash bin. She's like, "There, you smell that?" They're like, "Uh-huh, yeah, I smell that." It was durian. They were smelling the leftovers from the durian.
Some of it off-putting smell.
To some people.
So what does it actually taste like?
Magic. It's amazing. It's an edible orgasm. It's high. It's creamy. Okay, it's amazing texture. It's creamy consistency. It's sweet. It's a sweet fruit. It has a lot of sugar. It also has a fair amount of fat, about 17% fat, and it has sulfur, which onions and garlic have sulfur. So you know how sautéed onions taste sweet because the carbohydrates break down to sugar. It tastes a little bit like sautéed onions. It's kind of hard to describe. Like caramelized onions, that's better. Yeah, caramelized.
I think like a sweet almond, a sweet onion custard or something.
Yeah, that's right.
Really
It's got that. What do you think?
I don't eat the shit.
You don't eat it. You don't like it. Really?
My wife loves it.
Sounds weird.
It's amazing. I mean, it's one of the most incredible things I've ever eaten. It's probably my all-time favorite fruit. Although I would say, when people often ask me, "What's your favorite fruit?" Well, I mean, durian's pretty hard to beat, but I wouldn't want to live on it. It's rich, and I once ate it, I think, 5 days in a row, twice actually. 5 days in a row, didn't want to see it again for a while. It's just too much after that. It's high in calories. It's because it's got a high amount of fat and sugar. It's a little hard to digest for a fruit. Most fruits are easy to digest. People often get a little gassy with durian, etc. You'll feel it a little bit, but it's so good. Like, we all do it anyway. Hi, enjoying my videos? If you'd like to learn much more, check out the Academy for Vibrant Living, where our Vibrant Health course will teach you everything you need to know to take your health to an amazing new level. And if you'd like to turn your passion for health into a lucrative career, check out the Health Coaching course, where you can become a professional certified health coach and help as many people as possible see amazing results.